Hello and welcome. I'm joined here today by Steve Thurgood, monitoring expert for Leica Geosystems, and he's going to tell us all about monitoring and how it relates to the surveying profession. So, Steve, let's start out. What is monitoring?
Hi Megan, how you doing? It's good, yeah. I think monitoring, what is it? It's just a process of measuring more than once. So, our core body of customers, what are they? They're surveyors. And a surveyor stakes out points or measures points. And when they do that more than once, or when they do an as-built survey, they've got a difference from something, haven't they? So that difference, do that again and again, and that's monitoring. So if you even think about what's automated surveying, well, that's automated monitoring. It's just setting a process in and letting it repeat and repeat. Yeah.
So what's the easiest way then for a surveyor to add monitoring to their service?
They probably do it already, don't they?
Okay.
If you think about it, as I say, if surveyors go out, they're measuring points. And whether they measure points to those sticky little retrotape targets or whether they measure prisms, it actually doesn't matter. They're already adding this as a service. They have this for their customers. What they probably then do, which a lot of customers do, is they'll measure their points. Maybe they'll note down on a bit of paper the difference in a survey field book, or maybe they'll download and put things into Excel. But really they're just looking at differences, and monitoring is just, it was there today, what's different the next time I measure? That's all monitoring is.
So they already have the skill set, the tools to get into this. What else do they need to develop this as a service?
But they need the customer base, don't they? But they already have that customer base. So if I'm a construction surveyor, I'm doing engineering surveying for a big construction company, maybe actually I'm already doing this and I've been to see this company. So I'm a construction surveyor. My boss says to me, hey, we've got some excavation going on over there. Can you just check that the wall next to it, measure it this morning, check it this afternoon, is that just moving or is it stable? Are they excavating a bit too close? So as a surveyor, what would you do? You might go out and measure some points reflectorless along the wall, just profile the line of the wall. You might go out and stick on some low-cost targets, or you might put some prisms on. It depends on the access to the object, doesn't it? Because it's pretty difficult sometimes to get access to the top of the building or the top of the wall or something like this.
Absolutely.
So, our customers that own anything from a TS16 or even a TS13, a multi-station with its scanning ability, they can all do monitoring. You can do monitoring with an LS15 level. You can do monitoring with anything you can measure more than once. So our customers already have the technology. They already have the opportunity in measuring for their customers. So it's actually a really good way to add another revenue stream, get into monitoring. That's the way we think about it.
Use the expertise and what they already have to expand for the customer base they already have as well.
Yeah, because, if I've got two instruments and I go out and I go and do a survey as a surveyor. I was a surveyor for, as I say, 20, 25 years. Hence the grey hair, really. But I was this surveyor, and when was I earning money? Or when was the company earning money? The company earns money when that deliverable is given over. They don't earn money and they don't use the kit really, really well if it's sitting on the shelf or if the surveyor's processing data. They earn money when they get their deliverable out. And yet with the technology in Leica Geosystems recently, we've made some improvements in the way we do our workflows, and it's all in the mind of, all in the focus of getting that surveyor to be more efficient. So what do? We add an application to the top station so that they can go out and measure things, and everyone's got a cell phone these days. Everyone can cast a Wi-Fi hotspot, so they can measure things and post the results from their site straight the way up to the cloud, and it can be displayed on a website. They don't have to go back to the office and do that processing. They don't have the instruments sitting in the store, just expensive things sitting doing nothing. You could go out and do a job in the morning, send the data to the cloud, go out in the afternoon, do another job. You know, should these be available to you as a surveyor? Obviously, sometimes you think, hey, there's not enough business for me to do 2 jobs in a day. I'm earning money by the hour. I'm sending my survey crew there. That's how I earn money. But you're a human and I'm a human, and what do? We kind of make mistakes, don't we? And if you could eliminate those mistakes, would you have a better output? I think probably true. And if we look at it like that, if you can make a task more repeatable with less error, with essentially a much faster, much nicer, streamlined workflow, then actually you don't have to repeat things. And nobody likes going back and doing the same thing again when it's covering up for a mistake or rework. No one likes rework. So with our applications, really you can eliminate point naming errors, you can eliminate point constant errors, you can eliminate target height errors, you can eliminate things like, oh, I thought you were Megan, oh no, I've called you Tracy. You're definitely not Tracy, you're Megan. But if I name this wrong in a survey, hey, it's all wrong, and I've got to then sit down and sort out the data and go through things. And it's a big data processing problem. If I've got a bit of equipment that it's a robot, it's a computer, it does what it's told to do, and it measures its points, and then it says, I've got a new list of what to do, and it does the survey. And what does a surveyor want? They want to get the data collected accurately, collected precisely, and collected without error. Right. Think about surveyors. They're really just, what's the point of employing them? They're there to minimize errors. You know, whether it's staking out or survey control or something like this, they're there to minimize errors. If you can minimize errors in data collection, hey, that's another win straight away, isn't it?
Absolutely. So you mentioned that Leica has not only the instruments, but the software, the applications to help create and streamline this process. But is there anything else that a surveyor would need or that could be helpful for different kind of monitoring projects to deliver more data or something like that?
We have a pretty diverse portfolio. And we look at this anywhere from the projects that have minimal monitoring to the ones that have advanced monitoring where they need things like geodetic radars and things like this, okay? And we look at our portfolio and we know that we can do traditional works like Leica do, the levelling, the tilt station works, the GNSS works, and we can expand upon that because we also have another platform, wireless sensors, YSEN. Yep, pretty simple name. Yeah. What these do, they add another ability for the surveyor to collect data. It's pretty simple. It's not magic. It's just a box that enables you to collect a relative change. If I said to you, hey, why are you going out every Tuesday to measure that work when every Tuesday you come back and you say nothing's changed? Is that a very smart way to work, do you think?
Not likely.
Not likely. But if you were able to know if you had to go to work on a Tuesday because something had changed or something hadn't changed, would that be a better way to work for you?
Better use of my time, for
sure. A better use of your time, a better use of your smart efforts. And working smarter, not working harder, is the way to go forward. So what we can do is we can not just think about using an XYZ process with traditional Leica instruments, but also use some geodetic or geotechnical technology. So we have these sensors which are, they're wireless, they have a battery inside, they have a radio inside, and they can talk to each other. A bit like, school children in a little classroom. They're just nattering away saying, oh, I'm here, I'm doing this. Okay. It's quite fun, really, if you think about these sensors as little children talking away, giving little bits of information. What information do they give? They give relative information. I am a tilt sensor. I'm telling you if I'm tilting over. Or I'm a distance sensor. I'm telling you what the offset to my other object is. Mm-hmm. If you then think about how to apply these tilt or offset sensors, what have you got? You've got something that could measure if a column is still vertical, or something that could measure, actually, is that column still the same distance from the next column? Or apply that to a railway, and is the railway track in the same position it was, or is it starting to rotate or incline on the track? Most derailments on trains occur because the rail track is then settling in one position, so it starts to bobble on the top. You've been on the train the same as me, and you bounce up and down occasionally. That's because the track isn't anymore in the condition it should be. So this might be because of a natural event like a landslide or some water flowing through the ground. What causes it is nothing we can detect, but we can detect what the result of it is, this movement. And whether this is with a total station or a level or a geotechnical sensor that's a tilting sensor, it's all pretty simple. And for us, we can integrate this into our portfolio.
Steve, why is monitoring so important for surveyors?
Well, it's another revenue stream, isn't it? If we think about it, if I own a survey company, if I can do land survey, I can earn some money from the documents I create from a land survey. But every time I do a survey, I have to sit down, I have to process all the data I've collected in the day, and all that time, my instrument's sitting on the shelf. And if my instrument's sitting on the shelf, it's not earning money. So monitoring is another thing where a surveyor can earn money. You know, they're already on the construction site. Perhaps a wall needs checking. Perhaps a facade of a building or a column needs checking. And if you can check a wall or an object, it's just a survey, because you're doing this survey more than once. You're doing exactly the same conditions. So the only thing that should change when you measure is the object if it moves. I think that's the basic of monitoring, isn't it? If everything is the same, then nothing should change. If all your instruments are the same, your setup is the same, if something's changed in the data, what's moved? Is it the data that's wrong, or has something moved? You know, that's the question you've got to ask, isn't it? Yeah. So why is monitoring important to surveyors? Yeah, it's extending the use of their skill set. That's quite simple, isn't it? You know, if I think about when I was a surveyor, I would set out survey control. Maybe we'd put grid lines down on a project if it was construction or something like this. Maybe we'd then do some staking out and we'd do an as-built. If we do that as-built more than once, really we're getting another data set of the same thing. We're doing monitoring. And there's always someone who says, can you check that? Can you do this extra thing for me? And if you're a survey company, if you can add another element to your portfolio, to your sales repertoire, to your services, then actually you're more important to the people who employ you. You're more versatile.
So you're not only extending your skill set, but your instrument setup, you're making the most out of all the things that are valuable about your services.
Yeah, I mean, who buys a car and leaves it on the driveway? Nobody. So who buys a total station and likes it sitting in the storeroom? Nobody. You know, when I owned a survey company, I wanted the people to be working all the time. I wanted the kit to be used as much as possible, because I knew if it was working, I was earning money. Right. You know, it costs you money to process data. So what do Leica do? They look at this, and we've really studied this, and we said to people, what can we do to help you make our data processing easy? So yes, we have streamlined processes where you can upload your data from site. You know, go out in the morning, do your monitoring survey, upload the data from site, populates all the graphs on the website, and then go to another site. Don't go back to the office and process your data. Let it be done automatically.
So we've heard a little bit about what Leica has done with the software and with the cloud services to make this more streamlined. And of course, you mentioned that they can use the existing instruments they already have. Is there anything else they might need to expand in their sensor instrument repertoire to pursue monitoring for different projects or something?
Well, if you think about what we can offer total stations, levels, GNSS. But if you go to a construction project or even a landfill site or a dam or something like this, maybe that isn't everything someone wants. So what do we offer? We offer a wider portfolio. We offer them a chance to go into the geotechnical world as well. It's not purely surveying, it's an add-on. And we offer these devices, Wisen wireless sensor, and they work in a radio network, and they have their own battery, they have their own internal sensors, they're all sort of IP rated, and they last for years. Imagine if, you could set your car and you didn't have to put any fuel in it for 5 years. Would you be happy?
Fantastic.
Fantastic. And it still worked, and it was off the driveway working all the time. You'd be happy?
Definitely.
So what about then if we could deliver data from an object? Relative data from an object, and we deliver that data 24/7, no problems at all. You're going to be happy.
Absolutely.
Because you're a survey company and you get paid for data. You don't get paid for people travelling to site. You don't get paid for problems where they can't get access to make readings. You get paid for data. So if we can put a tilt sensor on a building, tilt sensor sits there and it says nothing's happening, nothing's happening. So do you have to go to site and do your check measurement that day when nothing's happening?
Not then.
Not then, because you can be smart with it. Working smarter, not harder. So then suddenly, if you're contracted to do monitoring, you can use intelligent monitoring, use a hybrid system of geotechnical sensors with vibrating wire or crack gauges, things like this, or distance offset sensors, or tilt sensors, or anything that's actually in the geotechnical world that can connect to our system. We then take the data from that, process it through our platform, and then make it available as the website shows.
That's an excellent way to create these deliverables, it sounds like. Is this website access something just for the surveyor, or can the customer also view the data?
So I think one of the key things about monitoring is what really happens. What's the raw data? Do we want everyone to see the raw data, or do we want to process something and keep something back? It's really dependent upon the customer, the engineer, and the relationship. So some of our software will enable them to pre-process, some will enable them to just see the raw data. I think actually having the ability to do both is brilliant, and it I think the word is democratizing data. Yeah, it gives the power to the end user to see what they want. And our software, our GeoMOS Now, our GeoMonitoring Hub, these platforms that we have enable different users to have different access to different areas. So looking behind us, there's some plants at the moment. Imagine if you could only see the plant on the left and I could only see the plant on the right. But actually our boss could see both plants. And maybe the person who comes and services them sees all of them as well. But we have control over different parts of access, and our customers use this software to do so.
So you've mentioned a lot of benefits for getting into monitoring. What do you think keeps surveyors from taking that step, from making the leap into adding this to their service portfolio?
I think monitoring is a dark art, isn't it? Or is it? Is it really magic? Is it a mystery? No. Monitoring is difficult in some scenarios, and you absolutely do need experts to do things. But surveyors, as we've said, surveyors can make measurements. And if it is survey measurements, who's better to go and make those measurements than surveyors? So with our technologies, we have something as simple as the ComBox 60. It is a simple white box. It has one button, and that button switches it on or switches it off. It flashes a few colours, but generally it's one button, okay? Now, I think my family, my children can quite happily operate something with one button. And that one button setup with internal power packs, with an internal modem, with simple cable connections is the way to work. We're not trying to stop experts monitoring. What we're trying to do is say to people, hey, you also can do monitoring. Expand your portfolio, get into monitoring if you're not in monitoring, or grow with monitoring and expand your services if you're in this field already. Our simple equipment allows for connectivity easily. We don't need electricians anymore. We don't need comms experts anymore. We need someone who can press one button.
Can't beat that setup. No. Is there anything else you would want to say about monitoring to convince someone to get into it, or to say about the technologies?
I think monitoring is excellent for equipment utilisation and resources of people utilisation. If you think about the cost of deliverable for a survey, if I wanted to do a survey, I spend my time and I get a result. And then if I need more survey data, I spend my time again and I get a result. And it's a very linear relationship. Suddenly, if you said to me, hey Steve, I need more data, I have to go out more. With monitoring, yes, that is absolutely true in campaign monitoring. We call it campaign monitoring. This is then manual monitoring, or monitoring where you are going on a sort of a semi-automated basis. You maybe have some sort of robotic or aided data collection, or maybe it's a processing collection. We call this campaign monitoring because you're going there repeatedly. Whether it's once a week, once a day, once a year, still campaign. So for campaign monitoring, this is then the data path. Suddenly if you go to automated monitoring, yes, it does cost a bit more to start up. But that cost of a deliverable, if you're in automated monitoring, if you want more data, you change the clock on the robot and it collects more data. So the cost per deliverable in automated monitoring, if you're doing only a few deliverables, it's quite high. But if you're doing lots and lots, it's very, very low. And if you change the frequency, it's much, much more cost effective because you don't have to send out extra people. The other thing I think about monitoring, and why would someone automate monitoring, is a question we get all the time. And there's a few simple things. Can you get back to that position to do the monitoring again? Because you need the same system. So it's access. The second thing is then risk. How much of a risk is it to repeat this monitoring? Is the train going to derail if we don't know that the railway has settled? What's the risk, what's the impact, what's the hazard, and things like this. If it's a risky thing, probably should be automatic and you should probably get more data. The third thing that makes this sort of seesaw balance between automated and manual monitoring is actually the interval. If I was a surveyor and I had to do a set of monitoring once, twice a day, it's all right if it's a short-term thing. Your company earns money every time you go and do a survey. Suddenly, if that's 7 days a week for a year, can you cover the resources for that? Can you repeat the quality of data? Can you change personnel who are making the measurements? Sometimes it's actually a lot more efficient for you to set up an automatic scheme or to work smarter with a hybrid scheme than it is just to keep doing the survey. Sometimes it's a deliverable that you get paid for. Sometimes it's the automatic deliverable, the data that can be collected for you. Sometimes it's the survey you get paid for. You don't get paid if there's no boots on the ground, But each contract, each project is different. So if we have people that can get into monitoring and grow with monitoring, then they have more opportunities in their business.
Thank you for all those insights. There's a lot of compelling arguments there for getting into monitoring. And if you are interested in going into monitoring and want to hear how others have done it, we have a lot of great case studies on the Leica Geosystems monitoring website. Go ahead and check it out for even more reasons to get into monitoring. Thank you very much, Steve, for sitting down with me.
Thanks, mate. Enjoy your evening.